Hello everyone, so this is a little book haul. This is almost directly in response to the video I posted yesterday or the day before regarding online bookstores versus physical bookstores and how I described my guilt at having not usually the money, the funds, the means with which to go and shop at my local physical bookstores, and how I felt especially guilty after an email that was sent out by a publicist from Hatchet Books. And the sentiments contained within the email and everything was fine, and I wasn't offended or angered or anything by the email, and I completely agree with everything that Teresa said, and it was all good. I just felt really guilty and ashamed of myself when I read it. And yeah, so I very foolishly yesterday decided, because I was in Toronto, which is the town nearest to me, and they have a Maclean's Booksellers, and they're an independent bookstore chain, and I love going in there, but I'm sure I'm known, like I'm sure I'm notorious in the Toronto branch especially for being a browser who doesn't buy often. They all recognise me, like whoever's working there that day, they all know who I am, and I always just love to go in there and look around. It's a beautifully laid out store. There's one in Newcastle as well, and I'm sure that Leslie from Words of a Reader, hi Leslie, can agree with me that Maclean's just is a really lovely store to look around, and they often carry some what I would deem obscure random titles that you don't expect to see in an Australian bookstore, which is great. It's great on one hand because you find them and you're like, oh, I didn't know that would be here, wow, and you want to pick it up and get it. On the other hand though, like so many other stores in this country, the prices are insane, especially in Maclean's, even more so than in Dymocks or QBD or any of the other ones we still have around. Maclean's prices are nuts. So it is very difficult to go on well, I guess this is a positive thing. It is really difficult to go on a shopping spree when you're in there unless you've got a lot of money in your wallet at that given time, or you've won the lotto or something, or you're just having a really good week with your money. You typically can't, you know, go in there and leave with an armful of books because you just wouldn't have the means to, I would imagine. I certainly never do. And on the occasions that I'm in there and I can feel like the salesperson like watching me as I walk around, and then I always feel guilty because like their eyes are boring into the back of my neck, and I'm like, I'm in here and I've been in here for ages, I should buy something, and that's always my justification. I'm like, I've been walking around for so long, I can't leave here with nothing to show for it, I'll just buy this. And it's such a stupid thing to do because it's so expensive. So that's my history with Maclean's there, just giving you a little summary. I have a love-hate relationship with the store. I love going in there, but I always feel like I need to buy something, and then when I do buy something, I'm so guilt-ridden again because I've spent money that I can't afford to. And this very thing happened yesterday. I went in there and I knew that I was going to leave having purchased something, because Teresa's words are in my head, and I was like, Australian bookstores are dying and there won't be any anymore, and then all the bloggers and reviewers will be complaining because the publishing companies will be unable to send us review copies and stuff, and everything is doomed, and it all hangs on you, Renee, buy a book. So this was going through my head, and so I bought books, and I shouldn't have, but I did. I decided though that if I was going to buy books, I would not buy YA. I would buy adult fiction and make myself feel grown up. So that is what I did. These are the books I purchased. I only got 3, but still, here, this is the thing. I think I left and I spent $76 or $78, I hope it was 76, on 3 books. And as I was leaving, the words were going around in my head saying, Renee, you could have got 7 or 8 books for that price on the book depository. So I felt terrible. This is what I did. I got How to Eat a Cupcake by Meg Donoghue, primarily because of the title and the fact that there are cupcakes that look delicious in the thing. But it says that it's a great story about friendship, and that was immediately appealing to me because it's not necessarily a romance. It's about the friendship between these 2 women, and they open a cupcake store, and I thought, that sounds adorable and lovely, and you know, I like non-romantic relationships being represented, and friendship is certainly one of the most special things in my life, so friendship and cupcakes, why not? The price for this one, I think this was $22. Yep. Then I got Kate Morton's The Distant Hours. I have her 2 other books. I've got The House at Rivendell and Forgotten Garden. I love The Forgotten Garden. I've not yet read The House at Rivendell. but I know that this, The Distant Hours, much like Forgotten Garden, incorporates fairy tale and story, like narrative within the text, and so that's really cool. And it's multiple points of view, and there's a castle, and, you know, time travel, going back in time and hearing from different people and stuff, and I like that. And I really enjoyed Kate Morton's writing style in The Forgotten Garden, so I picked this up. This one, I think this was $28, which is a typical price for an adult fiction. And then here's the doozy. I couldn't resist it because I've heard such good things about it, and Juliet Marilia loves this book, and if Juliet Marilia loves it, well, who am I to complain? But I got Bitter Greens by Kate Forsyth because it's an Aussie author, and it's fantasy mixed with history, and it's a sort of Rapunzel retelling, so fairy tales in there, and I've just heard really good things about it, and it sounds really interesting. And I've already started, I've read 67 pages, and so far it is very, very cool. But yeah, I've heard fantastic things about it, and Juliet Marilia says that threads of history and fairy tale are richly entwined. I can't talk. Threads of history and fairy tale are richly intertwined to form this spellbinding story, unputdownable. So, she said that. You know, that's a big thumbs up. This one was the doozy price. This was $33. So that alone should have been my purchase. But no, I had to buy 3 books, didn't I? So, hoi oi oi. And the thing is, usually my justification, especially with not purchasing YA, is that I will look at the publisher, and if it's one that I can potentially get for free as a review copy, then I'll leave it alone. So I did browse through the YA section, and there were titles that I wanted to pick up. There was stuff like, I'm trying to think, what is it called? A Brief History of Autonomy or something like that, and it's like part of a series, and I know that it has a lot of comparisons to I Captured the Castle, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing. But it's every time I see it, I'm like, oh, I should maybe read that series. But that's Random House, and I can ask Random House for the book. I also saw Shadowfell, which is by Juliet Marilia, and again, I think that's Random House as well. So I'm like, no, I could get those for review. But because I typically only get YA titles for review, I figured the same wouldn't apply to my adult selection. So even though this is vintage as an offshoot of Random House, I possibly could have got this for a review copy, but I figured probably not, so it still doesn't justify spending $33 on it, but what's done is done. So they're the books I very foolishly spent my money on yesterday. Out of guilt, and now I feel guilt. It's a vicious cycle of guilt. Just a little update what I am reading. I keep picking up things and then putting them down because that's how I roll, and unless it's grabbing me, then I'll just be like, I'll read you later. So a few days ago I picked up Anna Dressed in Blood, and I read 123 pages, and it was really gripping me, but I was getting very scared because I'm a scaredy cat, and it wasn't sensible. I was reading it in the nighttime, which is stupid. So I'm going to continue with it, but I'm going to try and pick like a big slab of time in the middle of the day to read it so I don't get scared. But I like that it's a male perspective, even though he said a few slightly sexist things so far, but I'm liking it. It's interesting. These are 2 books that I was reading quite a while back, and I'm planning on going back to them, but I'm leaving them for now. I was reading The Near Witch by Victoria Schwab, but it started to piss me off, so I'm on a hiatus from it, but it's still very clearly marked, so I know where I am, and I'll go back to it. And I was reading Mermaid by Carolyn Turgeon, but again, it was pissing me off, so I'm going back to it. I do like, however, that I happen to have a very apt mermaid bookmark, which is sitting in the middle of it, and it even colour coordinates, so hooray. I like that, but I will be returning to those books, just not at the moment. And then for whatever reason the other day I picked up A Breath of Air by Eve Marie Mont, and it's okay so far, but it's hitting a lot of stereotypical YA tropes so far, just with characterization and stuff, but that might be okay, might be forgivable. But I know she's going to at some point be travelling into Jane Eyre time, so I'm really just waiting to see if they're going to glorify Rochester's personality, as so many Jane Eyre retellings seem to do. If they make him credible as a character, and they make her response to him credible, then I might be okay with it. Rochester's a really interesting character, but he's not a very nice person, and I really don't like his actions. in the original, in Jane Eyre. So I'd just like to see how it's handled in other books. One of my favourite ultimate retellings of Jane Eyre was in The Eyre Affair by Jasper Fforde, because it was just so fun. It was fun times. But apparently, on the back here, I do believe that there's a touch of Scarlet, also written by this author, and I believe that is Gone with the Wind. And then there's a Phantom Enchantment, and by the looks of the picture, I'm really hoping that's Phantom of the Opera. I'm going to have to go and check. But if that is Phantom of the Opera, I am so on that, because I want to see what she does with that. Because everybody knows there's an awful lot of published Phantom of the Opera fanfiction, so I'm just curious to see, because most of it's terrible, but I would be very interested to see what she does there. So that's what I'm kind of reading at the moment, but of course last night I started this, and this is a monster. It's like 554 pages, so yeah, Renee can't decide what she wants to read. Renee is also very foolish with her book buying, but that's just my little update for you. Yes, that is all for now. Hope you're all having a lovely day / evening, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye!